Welcome back to AskPrebuilt. That is right, we're having two of these in 1 week. I needed some more time for my next video, so I put another one of these out. Sue me. If you want your question featured in the next video, be sure to put AskPrebuilt in the comments so that I can find it later. Let's get into this. Our first question is from Javier, and they ask, I have a potato laptop. Is there any way to make the game less graphics intensive since they keep bloating the game and we've yet to see any optimization done? Is 16GB good enough? I don't care about graphics, just getting the thing running smoothly. Okay, so what you want to do first of all is of course turn down all your graphics settings by going to the video settings and just putting it all to the lowest you can. The ones down here on the bottom right are absolute frame eaters, so be sure to definitely just turn all that off. Now if you're in single player, you'll want to go to 7 Days to Die on Steam and press play, and that'll bring up this menu. Then you want to click show game launcher and then press play. Then it'll bring up the game launcher. From here you want to disable the easy anti-cheat. It does nothing meaningful in single player anyway, but it does seem to lower your frame rate just a little bit. I also turn off game sparks. Then you want to do run and save as default. You should never have to use the launcher from now on. You can just play 7 Days to Die as you usually do, and it'll automatically disable easy anti-cheat for you. Obviously, if you want to play a multiplayer server that has easy anti-cheat enabled, you will have to turn that back on by just doing the same thing. Next, the last thing you need to do for some extra frame rate is going to be going to the dynamic mesh options in the settings and disabling dynamic mesh. Dynamic mesh makes it so that if you change a POI or terrain with building a base or destroying the terrain or buildings, you'll be able to see that from far away. It's nice, but you absolutely don't need it if what you want is frame rate. Then what you want to do is turn the mesh distance down to 100, and then turn everything else down to the lowest. This will make it so that far away POIs don't render at all. You'll have to be within 100 meters to see any POIs, meaning you won't waste any resources rendering that nearby city until you're inside it. Your frames will still die a little bit inside of big POIs and on horde nights, but it'll still be the best you can get frame-wise. It'll look like complete ass, but then again it always kind of looks like complete ass, so what's the difference really? Here is me with 300 FPS inside of Deshong Tower while recording in HD, so it would be even higher if I wasn't doing that. So yeah, graphics, easy anti-cheat, dynamic mesh, frames. I have a 3070, so your results will vary, but your frame rate should definitely go up regardless. The next question is from Samuel, and they ask, how long have you survived in 7 Days to Die? Do you like playing on a big map or small map? I personally prefer a big map with no mods. So in single player, the highest I've ever bothered to survive to was day 100. This was for a 100 days video, which I never finished because it wasn't very entertaining, because the last 80 days of that playthrough weren't very good to watch. I didn't die on day 100, I just stopped playing because that was the objective. I wasn't gonna die anytime soon, even though I had been playing Insane Nightmare 50% loot horde night every 5 days, and I had just genuinely done everything. I was just grinding ammo for the last like 50 days of that whole playthrough. In multiplayer though, I have survived up until like day 700. Again, it didn't end because of any death or anything, I just ran out of stuff to do. As for what map size I like to play on, I like playing on small maps because they're actually easier than bigger maps. You see, there's less space between the cities on small maps. The less space between those things, the less time you spend driving. The less time you spend driving, the more time you can spend doing quests and other progression activities. And if you can do more of that in any in-game day, you can progress faster than normal, and it's partially how I end up being done with the game after like day 10, because I've done everything, because I tend to play on maps where things are quite close together. But if what you want is a slow, long-term playthrough, and you want to make sure you get as many biomes and POIs as possible, bigger maps packed with more cities and POIs is definitely a good idea. I personally know that even if I play on a massive map, I'm going to be bored of it very quickly, so a big map is just a waste of time for me. Tradition asks, do SMG turrets set off demolishers? I want to add some to my horde base, but really don't want to risk setting the demolisher off. I can't say that 100% they don't, but they're not supposed to, and I've never seen an SMG turret hit a demo button in Alpha 20, although they did in earlier versions. I generally put a couple of these on my horde base later on in the game if I play long enough for that to be necessary, and on those occasions it doesn't seem to mess up demolishers for me. Robotic turrets, however, absolutely will. Frank asks, what's your favourite food? Pizza. Very uncreative, I know, but it's just true. James asks, what's your favourite colour, least favourite colour, and colour of stain you would most like to see added to Mo's shirt? My favourite colour is of course, red. You can very clearly see that on most of my branding and in most of my videos. My least favorite color though is orange. I have a primal hatred of the color orange. I can't explain it. It is just objectively the worst, most boring color. Which is weird because I like red and yellow, but absolutely do not mix them. As for what color of stain I would like to see added to Mo's shirt, after excessive deliberation, I have decided the stain should be the color pink because that would raise so many questions about what he spilled on himself, and also I can't think of any zombies that already have pink on them, so that's a splash of colour we won't have seen before. A different James asks, have you tried Glock 9's 3x3 challenge? No. There's 3 reasons for that. The first one being, I'm just not really a horde-based builder. I have like 2 or 3 designs that work fine. I don't really like testing and coming up with designs. It's just not something I particularly enjoy in this game, although in the last video I did say that it's one of the best mechanics in the game, and it is. I just personally don't enjoy making horde bases. I don't mind building like houses and stuff, but horde bases are just really boring to me. Because ultimately there's 3 base ideas that work and everything else is just some kind of remix or combination of them. 2, I don't want to make a video using a huge channel like Glock's name, because if it blows up, suddenly I owe someone something. Hence why I tend to only really work with channels of a similar size, and Guns, Nerds and Steel because we just work together all the time and we always have. And 3, I didn't even find out about this challenge until like a month later. I don't really watch Glock 9, I rarely watch other 7 Days to Die content at all. Usually I only do it to support my friends, because honestly I rarely learn anything new, and when I do, it's usually from the same couple of people. So I tend not to keep my finger on the pulse of those trends for 7 Days to Die. I usually miss out on them when they're at their highest peaks, and then when I find out about them, they're kind of pointless to do. Fortunately, there are very few trends in 7 Days to Die worth capitalizing on other than the big updates to the game anyway, so I rarely miss out on much. Generally, these trends that happen are things like Glock 9's challenges or the tiny like 2-week bubbles of hype as new mods come out or they're updated for the current version of the game, and I just don't really find that they're worth the effort it takes to keep track of them. 7 Days to Die is not a niche that often gets like 1 million views on a trending video, like it's just not that kind of game. So it's really just not worth the effort it takes to castanet across every trend across every video and channel of 7 Days to Die. If a trend is worth the effort of me going out of my way to do it, it'll be something so good that me being a month late to it wouldn't even matter. I keep note of the news on the forums and Twitter and report on that because it actually gets views that are worth the amount of effort I put into keeping track on those things, which honestly isn't very much. I just check the forums and Twitter like 3 times a day. It takes a grand total of like 5 minutes out of my day, whereas keeping track of everything everyone else is doing would take a lot longer. Zlatan asks, is there any saving pipe weapons in their current format in your opinion? Things like the shotgun taking an eternity to reload, etc., and the machine guns being the only viable weapon. What could be done to change or improve them without stepping on the toes of the weapons above? So the problem with pipe guns, in my opinion at least, is very, very simple. They're not fun to use, and this is a problem for a video game. It doesn't matter how bad the weapon is supposed to be, it should be fun to use, or at least not annoying to use. The solution for that is pretty simple as well. You get rid of the stupid, arbitrarily extended reload animations, you make the weapons do a reasonable amount of damage, you can even make them do the exact same amount of damage as the next tier up. For the most part, it won't matter because most of them have less ammo capacity anyway, so you will still want the upgrade. Even then, we're going to balance them even further, very simply with 2 things. They should be very low durability, so that you can only fire a few magazines worth of the ammo before they break, and then just have them not be repairable at all. You have to replace them, which is very quickly going to start costing you a lot of glue. Now, this is preferred to me because rather than making the guns themselves boring and annoying to use, you make a logical gameplay design choice. You make them enjoyable to use, at least as enjoyable as the other guns, but you make the player think twice about using them. If they break easily and you can't repair them, then players are forced to use them as a last resort panic weapon, and when they do, they won't be annoyed with the experience they had firing the weapon, which is the ultimate problem with the guns. It won't be frustrating or weak, you just won't be able to use it to clear every POI and every horde you find. You'll have to use it sparingly. And if players want to replace their pipe weapons, they'll have to engage with more of the game to find more glue or rare resource early on. Balanced but still fun to use, And it still encourages the player to upgrade to something else because they'll use too much glue if they try and use pipe weapons for the rest of the game, which again encourages the player to engage with the other mechanics rather than punishing them for using the pipe weapons. Realm of Random says, I personally find the explosives weapon tree lackluster, only having the rocket launcher and thrown explosives. Do you think it should be expanded on with something like a grenade launcher? Also, do you think the Fun Pimps will ever get around to adding the flamethrower? First of all, the flamethrower is something that is in the game files. I have no idea if it will ever be added to the game, but they do have a planned flame trap that will appear in POIs for Alpha 21, so I could certainly see a flamethrower weapon being added in Alpha 22 or a hypothetical Alpha 23, although we've never even heard the Fun Pimps say the phrase Alpha 23, so we don't know if that's going to be a thing. But as for grenade launchers, that's definitely something that we can expand upon quite easily, theoretically. I think a very simple grenade launcher tree can be implemented and would fit exactly the system the game already uses for the other guns. So we have pipe bombs as your primitive pipe weapon. That just makes sense. Pipes, 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 pipes. Got it? Pipe. Then you've got tier 1, which could be a single shot grenade launcher, something like an M79 grenade launcher. Then at tier 2, you have a pump action grenade launcher. For this, I'm thinking something like a 4-shot China Lake. Both of these grenade launchers use 40 by 46mm grenades in real life, so you could just add those to the game and it would cover both of them. And for tier 3, you just have the rocket launcher, but if you want to be consistent, you can rename it to Rocket Propelled Grenade, or RPG, to make it fit the grenade launcher theme. If you were feeling spicy, you could add a grenade launcher tube mod and have it visually appear on the two-handed rifles in the game. You would make it so that if it's equipped, you can hold R and select a grenade, and then when it fires a grenade. Now that grenade would come out of the bullet barrel and not the grenade barrel, but that's just on par with the jank already in the game. I'm pretty sure even my dumbass could do the modding for these grenade launchers. I just have no experience with 3D modeling, or I would actually just do this myself. It would pretty much just be a copy-paste of explosive crossbow bolts, some damage value tweaking, and of course you have to hook up all the schematics and the loot tables, but should be pretty much child's play for even a novice modder. And finally, VaultBoyXO2 says, or else what? Now this is in response to me saying, ask me a question for the next video or else. And the else is this. So that's what's going to happen to you if you don't ask me a question in the next video. So remember to put AskPrebuilt in there. You wouldn't want me to miss it now, would we? Thank you to my channel members and patrons for making this video possible, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.